The void didn't scream when the ship vanished. It just opened its mouth. Static electricity arced across my vision, turning the scorched horizon into a strobe light of impossible geometry. The Omission's dreadnought, a moon-sized slab of alloy meant to vaporize continents, simply ceased to occupy space. In its place, the stars distorted, bending around a point of absolute nothingness that felt less like physics and more like divine retribution. Beside me, Cale didn't flinch. He just adjusted the strap of his kinetic rifle and checked his watch, the blue light of his visor reflecting in his eyes. He looked like an apex predator observing a minor inconvenience rather than a soldier facing down a galactic superpower. "Timing is a little tight," he muttered, the roar of collapsing atmosphere drowning out the wind. "But the math holds." 12 hours earlier, I had been calculating the math of my own death. The twin suns of Iridius Prime were merciless, hammering the golden dunes until the air itself shimmered like a mirage of liquid glass. This was the sentence handed down by the Galactic Council. Exile by exposure, no weapon, no comms, just the heat and the shameful memory of my tribunal. My crime was ethical leadership in a time of total war. I had refused to glass a civilian colony to reach a military target. To the Council, that hesitation was treason. To me, it was the only thing that kept me from becoming a monster. I had expected to die alone, my body becoming another cautionary tale in this grim science fiction story the galaxy was writing. Instead, I saw a shadow detach itself from the glare. It moved with a fluid, predatory grace that shouldn't have been possible in this gravity. It wasn't one of the hulking Space Orcs employed as shock troops by the Omission, nor was it a sleek, cybernetic council enforcer. It was smaller, denser, radiating a terrifying heat signature that matched the burning sands. A human, a deathworlder. He crested the dune, sliding down the silica slope until he stood over me. He offered a canteen of recycled water, the metal cool against my blistered skin. I stared at him, my strategist mind racing to understand why a member of a species notorious for their terrifying Terran spirit would risk exposure for a disgraced commander. "Drink," he said, his voice raspy but steady. "We don't have long." "You're Cale," I whispered, the realization hitting me harder than the heat. "The survivor from the colony, the one I spared." He nodded, scanning the horizon where the sky was beginning to bruise with the purple contrails of atmospheric entry. "My sister made it out because you held fire. The Council calls that weakness. We call it an investment." This was the vaunted human ingenuity I had read about in intelligence briefings. The ability to find leverage where others saw only debris. He pulled me to my feet, his grip like iron. He wasn't just saving me, he was recruiting me. The concept of HFY humanity, fuck yeah, was usually dismissed as propaganda on the datanets, but standing next to him, I felt the raw, kinetic potential of his species. A sonic boom shattered the stillness. High above, the clouds parted as 3 hunter drones, precursors to the capital ship, screamed toward us. They were sleek, silver, and designed to hunt down rogue elements with mathematical precision. I tensed, preparing for the end. "We need to run." They tracked my biosignature. Cale didn't move. He planted his feet, unholstering a device that looked less like a weapon and more like a remote detonator. He watched the approaching death with a calm that bordered on insanity. "Mercy isn't a mistake, Vexia," he said, his thumb hovering over the trigger. "It's a firing solution delayed by 9 seconds. "We are 2 people against a dreadnought," I snapped, the old strategist in me recoiling at the asymmetric warfare logic. "This isn't a fight we can win with grit. We didn't hide to run. We hid to reload," Cale corrected, his eyes locking onto the lid drone. "And we brought friends." The air pressure dropped so sharply my ears popped, the sound of the approaching drone swallowed by a low-frequency hum that vibrated in the marrow of my bones. "Now," Cale said. He didn't fire his rifle. He fired the sky. The distortion I had witnessed earlier, the ship vanishing into the void, played out in reverse, but on a massive scale. Directly above us, the blinding glare of Iridius Prime's sun seemed to peel back. It wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was active camouflage. Disengaging, a massive silhouette, shaped like a spearhead forged from obsidian and starlight, punched through the atmospheric haze. "Protocol Ember," Kale shouted over the sudden roar of displacement engines. Beams of concentrated antimatter lashed out from the human vessel, bypassing the hunter drones entirely and striking the distant Omission capital ship in orbit. There was no explosion, no debris field, no chaotic scatter of metal. The enemy dreadnought simply folded inward, compressed by a weaponized gravity well until it was a single point of super-dense matter, then gone. The drones, severed from their command link, dropped from the sky like stones, crashing harmlessly into the dunes 100 meters away. I stood frozen, the heat of the sand forgotten. I'd spent cycles studying military history, analyzing every science fiction story and historical archive the Council possessed, but I had never seen weaponized physics like this. The Galactic Council viewed humans as scavengers, barely clinging to existence on the fringes. We were wrong. They weren't hiding out of fear. They were holding the line. That, I breathed, looking up at the human ship descending with terrifying precision, is not a scavenger vessel. The UN's indomitable, Kale said, holstering his weapon. He offered me a hand, his grip steady, his pulse calm. We built it in the debris belts of a dead star system. The Omission thinks they're the galaxy's apex predator because they consume everything. But they forgot that predators have natural enemies. A transport shuttle detached from the Indomitable, kicking up a storm of diamond dust sand as it banked toward us. The ramp lowered before it even touched the ground, revealing a squad of soldiers in sealed combat armor, each one bearing the distinct, rugged aesthetic of Terran spirit. They didn't march. They moved with the fluid lethality of a pack. "You saved my sister," Kale said, his voice cutting through the noise of the landing thrusters. He looked at me, and for the first time the soldier's mask slipped, revealing the fierce loyalty beneath. "That wasn't weakness, Vixia. That was the first shot of this war. You proved that even a council strategist has a soul. That makes you one of us." I looked back at the burning horizon where I was supposed to die. The old Vexia, the exile, the disgrace remained there. "Ethical leadership," I murmured, realizing the truth of the lesson. I defied orders to save a life. You defied the odds to save mine. "We take care of our own," Kale said, pulling me toward the ramp, "and you're under our protection now." As we lifted off, leaving the scorching hellscape of Iridius Prime behind, I watched the stars emerge through the viewport. They didn't look cold anymore. They looked like a battlefield waiting to be claimed. I wasn't just a witness to human ingenuity anymore. I was part of the pack. The galaxy was loud, chaotic, and dangerous, but as the Indomitable turned its prow toward the deep dark, I realized the silence was broken. Humanity had reloaded, and now we were going to fire